It wasn't that long ago, you and I were having a conversation about the Saudi borrowing figures for this year. And I remember one of the elements of the discussion that came up is that they were looking for other sources of funding beyond public markets. This seems to be another, perhaps, innovative way of them getting and tapping into funding, but from within the kingdom.
Absolutely. That's very right, Giovanna. So you've really got two key factors that are at play here. And the first is, as you've said, around the macroeconomic backdrop. The Saudis have been running sustained budget deficits for quite some time now. We continue to see a rapid pace of borrowing. We have banks that are pulling back on lending growth. And at the same time, you have these huge investment and financing needs in the economy. So what we have now seen is that the government is extending its outreach for new sources of financing, for investment, for capital to some of the kingdom's most prominent families. So what our sources have told us is that the Public Investment Fund gathered about a dozen of the most prominent families on the Red Sea for a summit last month and asked them the questions, what do you want to see in terms of appealing investment opportunities, and how can we get you working with more global investors to bring more money into the kingdom? At the same time, the Ministry of Investment has also been extending outreach to family offices, family investment houses, and even family businesses to get them more involved. And now the thing that really allows this to perhaps flourish into a new source of investment in the kingdom is that the family office landscape here is also changing. And what I mean by that is that we are seeing family wealth grow in size. A lot of families have done exits through M&A, through IPOs. There's a lot of wealth. And so family offices are being established at a stronger clip than we've ever seen in the past. And those families are now looking for proper investment strategies, and they have a sense of nationalistic pride. So they're also interested in helping to drive the Vision 2030 economic diversification agenda.
Yeah, really good point on how the family office ecosystem has also evolved within the kingdom. And I also wonder whether opportunities are also popping up because we speak to perhaps some of the liquidity constraints facing Saudi banks, and whether also that's an opportunity for some of these private sources of capital and funding to come through.
That is absolutely a part of it. And, this is actually where I started following the trail for this story, is because we were getting such strong indications that the liquidity pressures were real. The banks were firmly saying no to people that were traditionally having solid lines of credit over the history of their business. The banks were saying to those people, no, we're not going to lend to you anymore. And that has created this huge need for financing. That's why we are seeing the emergence of private credit in the kingdom, for example. And so naturally, what we have seen is that these families that are looking to formalize investment strategy, set up family offices, and drive returns for the multiple generations that they now serve, are looking to become a part of that. And again, this goes back to that sense of nationalistic pride as well. There are a lot of projects that need financial backing. And so what we're seeing is that there is also the appetite now for these families to play into the dynamics that we're seeing here and help alleviate some of that squeeze.